If you're an international student in the United States right now, what I'm about to tell you could change everything. The F1 visa system, the pathway that brings over 1 million students to American universities every year, is facing pressure like never before. New restrictions are being discussed, old rules are being re-examined, and for hundreds of thousands of students from India, China, and beyond, the next few months could determine whether the American dream stays within reach or slips away entirely. This isn't speculation. This isn't rumor. This is happening right now. And if you're planning to study in the US, already here on an F1, or hoping to transition to a work visa or green card, you need to understand what's coming. Because the clock is ticking. Let's set the stage. The F1 student visa has been the gateway to American higher education for decades. It allows international students to study full-time at accredited institutions, work part-time on campus, and, under certain conditions, gain practical training experience through optional practical training, or OPT. For many, the F1 is just the beginning. It's the first step toward H-1B sponsorship, toward an employment-based green card, toward permanent residency in the United States. But here's the problem. The system is under strain. In fiscal year 2023, the United States issued over 470,000 F1 visas. India and China alone accounted for nearly half of those numbers. Hundreds of thousands of young professionals, graduate students, and STEM majors arrived on American soil with one goal: to build a future. But now, that future is uncertain. Over the past 12 months, immigration policy discussions have intensified. Post-pandemic visa backlogs have not fully cleared. Consular processing delays remain severe in countries like India, where wait times for visa appointments can stretch months. And in Washington, a growing debate has emerged. Should the F1 program be tightened? Should work authorization be limited? Should OPT be reformed? The answers to these questions will reshape the lives of millions. And now, the revelation that's sending shockwaves through the international student community. In recent weeks, policy analysts and immigration attorneys have reported increased scrutiny on F1 visa applications. Denial rates have climbed, administrative processing delays have lengthened, and sources within the immigration policy sphere suggest that new restrictions on post-graduation work authorization may be under consideration. Let me be clear. No official policy change has been announced yet. But the signals are impossible to ignore. Reports indicate that the Department of Homeland Security has been reviewing the optional practical training program. Specifically, the STEM OPT extension, which allows students in science, technology, engineering, and math fields to work in the U.S. for up to 3 years after graduation. This program has been a lifeline. It's the bridge between student status and H-1B sponsorship. Without it, thousands of graduates would be forced to leave the country immediately after finishing their degrees. But now, that bridge may be at risk. Immigration advocacy groups have raised alarms. Universities have expressed concern. And students, especially those from India and China, are watching every development with growing anxiety. Because if OPT is restricted, the entire pathway collapses. The response has been swift. Within days of these reports surfacing, immigration forums exploded with discussion. Reddit threads filled with questions. WhatsApp groups buzzed with speculation. Students began reaching out to immigration attorneys, asking the same questions over and over. Will my OPT be affected? Should I apply for my work permit early? Is it still safe to pursue an F1 visa? The uncertainty is palpable. And it's not just affecting future applicants. Current students are feeling the pressure too. Some are accelerating their timelines, trying to graduate and apply for OPT before any potential rule changes take effect. Others are considering alternative pathways: Canadian immigration, European work permits, even returning home. But here's the warning that immigration experts are issuing. Do not panic, but do not delay. If you're planning to study in the U.S., start your visa process now. If you're already on F1 status and approaching graduation, consult with an attorney about your OPT eligibility. And if you're on OPT and hoping to transition to H-1B, prepare your petition as early as possible. Because when immigration policy shifts, the window of opportunity can close faster than anyone expects. So let's break this down. What exactly is being discussed? What changes are on the table? And who will be affected most? First, the optional practical training program. OPT allows F1 students to work in the United States for 12 months after completing their degree. For STEM graduates, there's an additional 24-month extension, bringing the total to 3 years. This program has become essential for international students. It's how they gain work experience. It's how they position themselves for H-1B sponsorship. It's how they stay in the country while navigating the green card process. But critics argue that OPT has become a backdoor work visa. They claim it allows employers to hire foreign workers at lower wages, undercutting American graduates. They say it's being abused by staffing companies and outsourcing firms. And now, those criticisms are gaining traction. Proposals being discussed include reducing the STEM OPT extension from 24 months to 12 or even 6 months, tightening the definition of directly related work, making it harder to qualify for OPT, requiring employer attestations to prove that OPT workers are not displacing U.S. workers, limiting OPT to students from universities with specific accreditation levels. None of these proposals have been formalized, but the fact that they're being discussed at all is significant. Second, visa issuance and scrutiny. Consular officers are already conducting more detailed interviews for F1 applicants. Students are being asked about their post-graduation plans, their ties to their home country, and their sources of funding. Denials are rising, particularly for applicants from countries with high overstay rates. And third, the H-1B connection. For most F1 students, the ultimate goal is H-1B sponsorship. But the H-1B lottery is notoriously competitive. In recent years, only about 25% of applicants have been selected. If OPT is restricted, students will have less time to secure H-1B sponsorship. And if they don't get selected in the lottery, they'll be forced to leave the country. The stakes could not be higher. Now, let's go deeper. Why is this happening now? What's driving the push for F1 restrictions? The answer lies in the broader immigration debate sweeping the United States. Immigration has become one of the most divisive political issues in the country. Border security, asylum policy, and legal immigration pathways are all under intense scrutiny. And the F1 program has not escaped that scrutiny. Some policymakers argue that the U.S. immigration system should prioritize American workers. They believe that programs like OPT and H-1B give foreign workers an unfair advantage, especially in industries like technology and engineering. Others argue the opposite, that international students and skilled workers are essential to American competitiveness. They point to research showing that immigrants start businesses, file patents, and contribute billions to the economy. But in the current political climate, the restrictionist voices are growing louder. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Enforcement agencies are under pressure to act. U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, or USCIS, has faced criticism for processing delays and backlogs. The Department of State has struggled to keep up with visa demand, and both agencies are being pushed to demonstrate tighter control over who enters and remains in the United States. That pressure translates into stricter adjudications, longer processing times, and higher denial rates. For F1 students, this means the margin for error is shrinking. A single mistake on an application, a misunderstood interview question, a minor inconsistency in documentation, any of these could result in a denial. And once denied, the path back is difficult. Let's talk about scale. How many people are we talking about? How widespread is this impact? The numbers are staggering. As of 2024, there are over 1.3 million active F1 students in the United States. That includes undergraduate, graduate, and doctoral students across thousands of universities and colleges. India is the second largest source of F1 students, with over 260,000 students enrolled in American institutions. China is the largest, with more than 290,000 students. Together, Indian and Chinese students represent nearly half of all international students in the U.S. And here's what makes this so critical. The majority of these students are concentrated in STEM fields: engineering, computer science, data analytics, biotechnology. These are the disciplines driving America's innovation economy. If OPT restrictions are implemented, hundreds of thousands of these students could be affected. Let's consider the ripple effects. If students lose access to OPT, they'll have no choice but to leave the United States immediately after graduation. Universities will see enrollment declines as prospective students question whether an American degree is still worth the investment. U.S. companies will lose access to a talent pool that has become essential to their workforce. And the competition? Countries like Canada, Australia, and the United Kingdom are already rolling out red carpets for international students, offering easier pathways to work permits and permanent residency. If the U.S. tightens F1 restrictions, those countries will benefit. This isn't the first time the F1 program has faced pressure, and understanding the history helps us see where we're headed. The optional practical training program was established in 1947, originally allowing students 12 months of work authorization after graduation. For decades, it remained relatively unchanged. But in 2008, the Bush administration expanded OPT for STEM students, adding the 17-month extension. That extension was later increased to 24 months under the Obama administration in 2016. Why the expansion? Because American employers demanded it. Tech companies, pharmaceutical firms, engineering organizations, they all lobbied for longer OPT periods, arguing that they needed time to recruit and sponsor talented foreign graduates. The expansion worked. OPT became a critical pipeline for H-1B workers, and many students who entered on F-1 visas eventually obtained green cards. But the program also drew criticism. Labor unions argued that OPT undercut American workers. Immigration restrictionists claimed it was an abuse of the student visa category. And in 2014, a lawsuit was filed challenging the legality of the STEM OPT extension. That lawsuit was ultimately settled, but the controversy never fully disappeared. Now, in 2025, the debate has reignited. And this time, the political environment is different. The appetite for immigration reform is stronger. The scrutiny on work authorization programs is more intense. And the risk of policy changes is higher than it's been in years. The stakes are enormous, not just for students, but for the entire U.S. immigration ecosystem. For students, the pressure is personal. Many have invested years of their lives and tens of thousands of dollars in pursuing American degrees. They've left their families, adapted to a new culture, and worked tirelessly to succeed academically. For them, OPT isn't a privilege, it's a necessity. It's the only way to gain practical experience, repay student loans, and position themselves for long-term success. But the pressure extends far beyond individual students. Universities are watching closely. International students contribute over $40 billion annually to the U.S. economy. They pay full tuition, support local businesses, and enrich campus diversity. If F1 enrollment declines, universities will feel the financial impact immediately. U.S. employers are also feeling the pressure. Companies in the tech, healthcare, and engineering sectors rely heavily on international talent. If OPT is restricted, they'll face a talent shortage, one that could slow innovation and reduce competitiveness. And then there's the broader geopolitical dimension. The United States has long been the destination of choice for the world's brightest students. But that dominance is no longer guaranteed. Countries like Canada, Germany, and Australia are aggressively recruiting international students, offering streamlined visa processes and clear pathways to permanent residency. If the U.S. makes it harder for students to stay and work, those countries will gladly welcome them. The question is, can the United States afford to lose this talent? So what are officials saying? Has there been any formal response? The answer is, not yet. At least, not publicly. The Department of Homeland Security has not issued any official announcements regarding F1 restrictions or OPT changes. U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services has remained silent on the matter. And the Department of State continues to process F1 visa applications according to existing guidelines. But behind the scenes, discussions are happening. Immigration policy experts believe that any changes to the F1 program would require regulatory action, meaning a formal rulemaking process that includes public comment periods and legal review. That process takes time, often months or even years. So if changes are coming, they likely won't happen overnight. But that doesn't mean students should relax. Immigration attorneys are advising clients to prepare for all scenarios. Some are recommending that students accelerate their timelines, applying for OPT as soon as they become eligible. Others are encouraging students to explore alternative pathways, such as O1 visas for individuals with extraordinary ability. And universities are beginning to issue guidance, urging international students to stay informed and consult with designated school officials before making any major decisions. The message is clear. Hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. In recent weeks, leaders in the immigration policy space have begun speaking out. A prominent immigration attorney recently told a webinar audience, "We're seeing a shift in how F1 cases are being adjudicated. Officers are asking more questions. Denials are more common, and students need to understand that the environment has changed." A university official from a major public institution echoed that sentiment, saying, "We're advising our international students to be proactive. If you're planning to apply for OPT, do it early. If you're on OPT and eligible for H-1B, start preparing your petition now. The window of opportunity may not stay open forever." And a policy analyst specializing in immigration reform warned, "The F1 program has always been a target for critics. If the political winds shift, and they may, we could see significant restrictions implemented quickly. Students need to be ready." These aren't fear tactics. These are realistic assessments from people who understand how immigration policy evolves. And the message is consistent. The time to act is now. Let's zoom out and consider the expanded impact. Who else is affected by potential F1 restrictions? First, families. Many international students support family members back home, sending money earned through on-campus jobs and OPT employment. If OPT is restricted, that financial support disappears. Second, American classmates and colleagues. International students bring diverse perspectives to classrooms and workplaces. They collaborate on research projects, start companies, and contribute to the academic community. Restricting their ability to stay and work diminishes that richness. Third, small businesses and local economies. International students rent apartments, buy groceries, eat at restaurants, and shop at local stores. College towns across America rely on this economic activity. If enrollment drops, those communities will suffer. Fourth, innovation and entrepreneurship. A significant percentage of U.S. startups are founded by immigrants. Many of those founders first came to the United States on F1 visas. If we make it harder for talented students to stay, we're cutting off a vital source of innovation. And fifth, global competitiveness. The United States competes with other nations for the brightest minds. If we close the door, other countries will open theirs wider. The impact of F1 restrictions wouldn't be limited to students. It would ripple through the entire economy and society. So what are the possibilities? What could actually happen? Scenario 1. No major changes. The discussions fade, and the F1 program continues as it has. This is the best-case scenario for students, but it's far from guaranteed. Scenario 2. Minor adjustments. OPT remains intact, but certain eligibility requirements are tightened. For example, USCIS could require stricter documentation proving that OPT employment is directly related to the student's field of study. Scenario 3. Significant restrictions. The STEM OPT extension is reduced or eliminated. This would force students to secure H-1B sponsorship within 12 months of graduation, a much tighter timeline. Scenario 4. Comprehensive reform. Congress takes action, passing legislation that overhauls the entire student visa system. This could go either way. It could expand opportunities for students, or it could impose new limitations. Which scenario is most likely? Analysts are divided. Some believe that the economic and political costs of restricting F1 visas are too high, and that cooler heads will prevail. Others warn that immigration policy is increasingly unpredictable, and that students should prepare for the worst. One thing is certain. The next 12 to 18 months will be critical. This is the test. For international students, this is the moment to prove your resilience, to demonstrate your commitment, to navigate uncertainty with clarity and purpose. The path forward may not be clear. The rules may change. The timelines may shift. But that doesn't mean the dream is over. It means you need to be smarter, more strategic, more prepared. If you're planning to study in the U.S., research your options thoroughly. Understand the visa process, consult with experienced immigration attorneys, and apply early. If you're already on F1 status, stay in close contact with your designated school official. Monitor policy updates, and make sure your paperwork is in order. If you're on OPT, maximize every day. Build your resume, network aggressively, and position yourself for H-1B sponsorship. And if you're an employer, recognize the value that international students bring. Advocate for policies that allow them to stay and contribute. And be proactive in sponsoring the talent you need. This is the test, and how we respond will determine the future. As of early January 2026, here's what we know. USCIS processing times for OPT applications remain lengthy, averaging 90 to 120 days in some service centers. Students are advised to apply as soon as they become eligible, no later than 90 days before their program end date. F1 visa appointment wait times at U.S. consulates in India continue to be challenging, with some locations reporting delays of several months. Students should check the Department of State's visa appointment wait time website regularly and book appointments as early as possible. The H-1B lottery for fiscal year 2027 is expected to open in March 2026. Given the high volume of applicants, students on OPT should work with their employers now to ensure they're registered in time. And while no formal policy changes have been announced, immigration attorneys report increased scrutiny on F1 applications and OPT adjudications. Denials are being issued for reasons that previously would have resulted in requests for evidence. The takeaway? The environment is tightening, and students need to be prepared. So where does this leave us? The F1 student visa program stands at a crossroads. It's a system that has enabled millions of students to pursue their dreams, contribute to American society, and build meaningful lives. But it's also a system under pressure, facing scrutiny, criticism, and the possibility of reform. For students from India, China, and around the world, the next few months will be decisive. Decisions made in Washington, D.C., will determine whether the pathway remains open or begins to close. But here's what students need to remember. You are not powerless. You can take action. You can prepare. You can advocate. And you can succeed, even in the face of uncertainty. Stay informed, stay proactive, and most importantly, stay focused on your goals. Because no matter what changes come, one truth remains. Talent, determination, and resilience will always find a way. If you're watching this and wondering what comes next, here's what I want you to understand. The American dream is not a guarantee. It never has been. It's an opportunity that must be earned, protected, and fought for. For international students, that fight is happening right now. The question is, are you ready? Because the clock is ticking. The rules may change. The window may narrow. But if you act now, if you prepare, if you push forward, if you refuse to give up, you still have a chance. Don't let uncertainty paralyze you. Let it motivate you. Your future is still yours to shape. The only question is, what will you do next?